Welcome to the program, The All-Rounder. Welcome to Planet FM 87.6. I'm your host, Ismail Gulfaraz Abbasi, and today we have a very esteemed guest with us, Fahim Sardar Saab, who is an economist who has key insights on business. And we are going to talk about a debate that has triggered recently in Pakistan. In fact, not recently, as we speak, it has probably escalated a little. So that's why we thought we talk about it here at Radio Pakistan. And because not many podcasts, not many channels are talking about the issue, so I decided to take it up. And I thought that Fahim Sardar Saab is the right person to have this issue addressed. Fahim Saab, first of all, welcome to our show.
Thank you so much for having me.
Listeners and viewers, we are going to talk about the boycott campaign that has reached another level in Pakistan as we speak today. And as we titled our show today as Who Benefits, Who Suffers. Fahim Saab, first of all, I would like to ask you, what has these popular brands or these popular food chains to do with Israel-Palestine conflict?
Once again, thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to be here. And the topic that you've selected is quite serious.
It is.
Yes, and we have to sort of come to some kind of a conclusion.
Sure.
To it. The Israel-Palestine conflict is one of two burning, outstanding issues at the United Nations. Mm-hmm. One is Kashmir, that we just briefly talked about, and one is Palestine and Israel. When not getting into the technicalities of it, because I've studied the whole structure as best as I could, but I see everything from an economics perspective. True. I guess that's why I'm here. That's why
we're talking about.
So when we talk about large companies that may or may not have some kind of a link to the Israel-Palestine conflict, you just need to step back and look at the numbers.
Okay.
When we look at a company called Raytheon,
okay,
which is now known as RTX. Mm-hmm. When we look at which is American. When we look at a company called Boeing, American. When we look at a company called Elbit, that's Israeli. When we look at a company called British Aerospace, British. When we look at a company called Dassault, I don't know if I pronounced that French correctly, mm-hmm. Which is obviously French. When we look at all these companies, and then we look at a company called McDonald's. Mm-hmm. We look at a company called KFC, owned by Yums. Mm-hmm. Yum Brands, which one of the directors is from Boeing, by the way. Mm-hmm. Okay. So, and I just mentioned Boeing.
Yeah, you did.
When we talk about the first set of companies that I talked about, they're all weapons manufacturers. Mm-hmm. They're all weapons manufacturers. And when we talk about the second brand of food companies, and rightly so, you're asking me, what link do they have with the Israel conflict? You just have to look at the contributions a country or a company or an individual makes to which direction.
True.
So, if some company makes a contribution to Pakistan's flood relief, earthquake relief, so that goes to show they have. I think I'm going to break this thing. No. It's. I think it's. Yeah. Sure.
I think you can be comfortable.
Yeah.
That's fine. Yeah.
No, it's perfectly fine. Thank you. I hope the sound is clear.
Yeah, I mean it's
okay.
Good.
So when we look at a company or a country that basically helps us in floods, in earthquakes, and in rural development, for example, we can clearly see what their inclination is.
Okay.
Yeah. When we, for example, Pakistan helps Turkey in its earthquake relief, as best as we can. Mm-hmm. It shows our inclination. So when we see a company doing the same thing, you can see the inclination. It's very simple, actually.
Okay.
So when McDonald's offers Israeli IDF murderers, I will call them murderers, they're very brave when they fight unarmed men, and women, and children, and they're not very brave when you see them fighting Hezbollah because they suddenly wanted ceasefire. It's very interesting. Gaza, which is a 60 square kilometer area, I believe, or less than that. I think I'm wrong. They can't seem to manage that place, so that's their capacity. And if they're offered free food while they're in their campaigns to kill any human being, and in this case is Palestine. So it goes to show that that company has a direct inclination there. When was the last time McDonald's offered free food in our earthquake relief? Did they?
I don't think so.
They didn't. Did they offer any free food in Pakistan, which was devastated by floods? Did they? 2 years ago, we had a $35 billion loss because of unprecedented floods, which were called by the UN Secretary General as monsoons on steroids. Not me, that's what he said. He came to visit Pakistan.
Okay.
Who offered us free food? We don't need anyone's free food, but I'm just saying, where's the inclination? We saw many companies, many countries trying to help Pakistan. So Pakistan doesn't forget that. Now, China has never forgotten what we did for them in the 50s, 40s, 50s, and 60s.
Okay.
We helped them. So when you have when you can clearly see an inclination, so these companies then have to think about, in the case of McDonald's, McDonald's is a corporation, and a corporation is there for money. So why are they giving out free food? That means they have an ideological link to it. Corporations are not supposed to have ideological statements. Okay, let's say they do. McDonald's.
So I would like to interrupt
please,
a little, if you don't mind.
Please.
The free food concept. Many believe this because when I was preparing for this show, I basically got a lot of questions from the people who listen to us, and there is a fragment who believes that this free food notion on the part of McDonald's supplying free food to the Israeli warriors or the armies, they just think that it's just a make-up story. Is it?
No. It's been certified by the IDF.
Okay.
The Israeli Defense Forces certified this. Thank you for your support.
Okay, fine.
So I don't mean to cut short what you said,
please.
And one must verify information before one moves forward. So no, it was IDF. Basically endorsed it. Thank you for your support and all that.
Fair enough. Please continue.
So when for example, if Pakistan wants to buy a weapon from RTX, one of the biggest weapons suppliers on earth, will we get it for on a discount?
I don't think so.
Confirmed. We will not get it at a discount. In fact, we might be paying extra to get weapon X, weapon Y, weapon Z.
Okay.
So the same weapons produced by some of these companies are being sent to, on one hand I started with food, now I've come to weapons. So there's a reason I'm breaking it up. And I'm talking about economics.
Yes.
Why would America be subsidizing Israel's purchases for weapons? There's a reason for it. Inclination.
Yeah.
Full stop. So when we talk about, let's go back to the corporations, food corporations thing that you brought up. When a corporation is selling across the world is the market.
True.
So when their opinion matters. Now, if their opinion did not matter, why is the Big Mac different? I've just pointed out McDonald's, there are other companies as well.
KFC and all.
Yeah. Why would there be different Big Macs across the earth? To suit to specific tastes.
True.
Let me take an oblique reference. If we look at Kit Kat, there is a wasabi Kit Kat in Japan. I, for the life of me, don't know what it would taste like. I've never tasted it, but it's a hot sale in where? Not Pakistan, in Japan. So corporations have to cater to their markets.
True.
So if a market says to them, please provide us with this product, the corporation provides it. But when the market says, look, you're delving into ideology now, why does the corporation not listen? That means there is a hardened concept that they don't want to change.
True.
So that is where a backlash starts from.
Wonderfully explained. I think it's very apt that we begin here. Now, when we talk specifically about Pakistan and the impact of this boycott campaign on the people of Pakistan, or when I was planning it, that's why I titled it as "Who Benefits and Who Suffers." Many people believe that the companies we are talking about, they're worldwide companies. We're talking about McDonald's, we're talking about KFC. And many people who are against this boycott campaign, they're of the view that by boycotting these products or these food items in Pakistan, you are actually going against your own country. And this is not going to make a big impact either on Israel or on these food companies, and it's rather going to impact the employees who are working in these food chains. They're obviously Pakistanis, and also that it's going to dent Pakistan's economy as well. How do you see that?
I think that's. I was dreading this question, and it's an absolutely important question. You have. I'm happy to say this. You've put me in a corner, and I need to explain.
Sure.
And I will speak from both economics as well as sociology that we need to sort of bring together.
Fine.
And at the end, we're going to talk about national security.
Fine.
Now that's a mouthful. Boycotts always work.
Okay.
$1, 1 real, 1 dinar, 1 ruble, 1 pound, 1 franc, 1 euro lost is one something lost. Corporations are not in the business to lose money. They're in the business to make money. When Toyota sells a car, which it started from the Toyota family in Japan, when they started selling across the earth in the post-World War, and perhaps before, they're there to make money.
Okay.
Now imagine if one country says we are not going to buy Toyota cars.
Okay.
And that is a small country.
Okay.
Now I'll break this up into fragments, and I hope it makes sense. Now, firstly, that if that company is serious about their business across the earth, they should call a meeting, and they should say, okay, fine. Look, financially, it's not going to hurt us that much, but we cannot allow this to happen. This is not good.
Okay. Reputation is also something that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And when you have an international brand, you have to have an international citizenship to it.
True.
International citizenship is actually not that difficult. It's quite simple. It's based on basic human principles. What's good for me is good for you.
True.
It's as simple as that. Now, if a company says no, well, I mean, we refuse to listen to what they will listen to us. That is exactly what Ford did in Japan.
True.
There's a reason I brought this up.
Yeah.
When Toyota was entering the US market, you know what they did? They first studied the mindset.
Okay.
Americans like big showrooms. They like, things to be big in the Toyota car. They put the Toyota car in that system. They did not teach the Americans how to think differently.
Okay.
But now the Americans have learned to think differently because of perhaps 60 years of exposure. Now they're thinking very differently. We need economy, we need comfort, that's why you have brands like Lexus and so on and so forth. But when Ford, and I think it was Chrysler as well, when they were entering Japan, they refused to do the Japanese way of doing business, which is door-to-door salesmanship. People used to sell Toyota cars through a handbag. This is what the Americans couldn't understand because they were like, no, it's our way.
Yeah.
That's why for a long time they couldn't enter the market. And why am I trying to juxtapose these two examples?
I'm trying to understand the analogy that you're coming.
Yeah. Is that an international corporation, when it says it's international, size is very important in a particular area.
Okay.
But they have to have an international mindset.
Okay.
An international mindset is based on accepting what that market is saying.
Okay.
If Pakistan says we want something in Suzuki cars, Suzuki will have to listen, despite the fact that Suzuki in China might be much bigger. But Suzuki in Pakistan is one of the oldest brands in Pakistan.
Okay.
So they'll have to listen to. That's why some of the Suzuki brands, the Japanese don't understand it. Why are these brands so famous in Pakistan? Okay, fine, buy it. if you wanted. So they're listening to the segment. So the answer to the question, is it important? It's always important at a strategic level, and then secondly at a financial level.
Okay.
Now, if it is important at both, that's something tectonic.
Okay.
A corporation cannot afford to have a strategic mindset going against them, as well as a financial impact going against them.
True.
It's usually one of the two. But
Okay.
when these two things come together, that's where it becomes heavy.
Okay.
Okay. So that's the corporation's angle. Now, I'll be specific to what you said. Boycott in Pakistan. Pakistan is not new to boycotts, firstly.
Okay.
And I will go so far back. I don't know if you have any. When BCCI was being targeted across the earth, I've done extensive research on BCCI. Pakistan refused to listen. Pakistan said, "Excuse me, they didn't do anything wrong here." Pakistan didn't shut down BCCI in here. Pakistan maintained it. They didn't break any laws in Pakistan. So that became HCCI, Habib Credit and.
But what if I chip into this particular
Please.
part? Wasn't that a failure on Pakistan's part? What happened eventually?
What happened eventually was Pakistan stood its ground. And Pakistan basically strategically said something that other countries should have said as well.
Apart from, having, you could say, being on the right side of the history, or attaching the sentimental or emotional value to it, did it work in any financial or any material way for Pakistan?
To be honest, yes, it did actually.
Okay.
It did, and
Please enlighten us on
sure.
that.
I'm bringing up that as another example of a localized situation
Okay.
where there's something international going on.
True.
Right? Pakistan refused to follow what others were saying, but Pakistan did not say that we're just going to do it our way.
Okay.
That bank was retained.
Okay.
It was changed.
Okay.
People maintained their jobs.
Okay.
There were some changes.
Okay.
And that bank helped staff many of the banks that we see today.
Okay.
So Pakistan created its own formula, like we always do. We always create our own formula.
Did that scandal, if I gather from my memory of history from 90s, did retaining that bank in Pakistan was one of the cause of Nawaz Sharif's dismissal, or losing his government at that point?
Wow, that's a very interesting point, and I didn't think about that. Thank you for pointing that out. I have to research that, and I will. I'm not sidestepping the question.
Fair enough.
It's just that I did not look at it from that perspective.
Fair
I'll be very honest with you.
That's perfect.
So, you're talking about the first regime, right?
Yeah, I'm talking about the first one.
Yeah.
Do we have a problem? Okay.
Okay. No, I have to get back to you on this.
Yeah,
I
please.
will
So
ask-
let's get back to what we were talking about.
the
And,
boycotts.
the boycott, I think you wonderfully explained that the impact it is going to have on these big companies, and the impact is definitely going to be there, not denying the fact. But if we go and if we somehow try to navigate the impact on these companies, or in the larger scheme of things on Israel, and the impact it is going to have on Pakistan's economy and the people of Pakistan, especially the people who are involved in one way or the other with these
Yes.
companies, and they're doing their jobs. If we rationalize this, how do you see that?
I don't think you're going to like my answer. Okay, because I'm about to say something. I'm going to give you another example,
Okay.
because then you'll be like, okay, well, he keeps coming up with examples.
Okay.
So, absolutely, very incisively put, and I'll try to be as concise as I possibly can. The simplest answer, which is the tip of the iceberg, is yes, it affects people who are working there. It hurts them.
It hurts.
I mean, their day-to-day, their monthly wages, they're running their
Downsizing is happening. It's already there.
It's already there, so it has a negative effect
Okay.
in a localized environment, in that specific thing, and that is one of the outcomes of not corporate activity. This is an outcome of war.
Okay.
This is a war going on.
So you call it collateral damage?
Unfortunately, yes.
Okay.
And it's not justified. I'm not justifying it.
Okay.
It's there. There is, in Islam, there is no collateral damage. If we recall what our dear holy prophet, may peace be upon him, what he said, there was a female dog giving birth, and he had the whole army headed for Badr shift its way so that she's not disturbed. So we have to follow those principles. I'm not justifying any collateral damage, but I'm just saying, I'm stating the facts as they are. If an international company faces a political, ideological, religious, justified or unjustified backlash in a country, there is local damage.
Impact.
There is local damage.
Okay.
It will hurt that company, even if it's a local company registered in Pakistan. But the main thing is the royalties that flow.
Okay.
The royalties will dry up.
Okay.
The royalties will reduce, and that name will become non-profitable in that country.
Okay.
Right as KFC has, I believe, left Malaysia.
Okay.
It's become non-profitable for them. They cannot sustain it anymore. Mind you, do you remember when McDonald's was launched in Lahore, Gulberg?
Yeah. The lines.
Yeah. It was the biggest financial experience that McDonald's had, if I recall correctly. The launch in Lahore. So that shows you how important it is. I sort of.
No, I mean, when the Tim Horton came to Islamabad, I remember on Jinnah Avenue, it was
jam-packed.
Yeah, Jinnah Avenue was jam-packed.
There you go.
Yeah,
absolutely. So just to perhaps I guess re-answer your question, it has a direct local impact on people.
Okay.
But then we have to look at, since I've dealt with national security and certain other things, you have to keep looking at the cascading effect.
Okay.
Now I'm going to give you another example, and you'll be like, my God, how many examples are we going to get? Have you ever used WeChat, the Chinese WeChat?
I did.
I have it, you have it, millions of people have it. WeChat came as a result of what could be called either a boycott or a restriction or a defiance.
What's it?
And WhatsApp was not being used in China because the servers were not in China. So they came up with their own system, which took some time. But
So now we are really entering into
Geopolitics.
Geopolitics, and I mean, I had a lot of questions from this domain. Exactly, I would have agreed with you on all of this if we had this potential and if we were doing what China has been doing. I mean, if we see our history, when we boycotted something or we went against it, there needs to be an alternative.
Absolutely.
Do we have the potential? I can't see that from our history or any example where we actually came up with something that's actually alternative. Are we coming up with Khilafat Kola, and is that the alternative?
I think that's a very interesting point, and I can't agree with you more. If I decide not to walk a certain path, Fahim should better know 3 other paths.
Exactly.
Am I correct?
That's the point.
If I don't know 3 other paths, then I'd better just walk on the path that I have.
Okay.
So, I mean, to that extent, I think we're on the same line.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, talking from a rational perspective. Exactly.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And it's a sign of ignorance to think otherwise. Let's be very frank here. Moving forward, when you when economics delves into geopolitics, and when geopolitics starts to use economics, that's when things start to, then you start, then you if and but, and if and but, and if and but, then it's not a binary relationship, it becomes
really complex.
Then you have to go through the cascade of events. Now, I would like to share with you something that happened after 9/11. America boycotted many of Pakistan's imports, as it did boycott many of other countries' imports, this and that. And our textile manufacturers suddenly were left with all these orders that nobody was buying.
Okay.
You know what they did? They immediately rebranded themselves, created local brands, and today, I'm proud to say, I buy Pakistani, I wear Pakistani, and we have got almost everything and perhaps even more. And all of that came from what happened after 9/11.
Time's up. The phone that you're using, the processor, Intel processors, and all.
Absolutely, that's from abroad, made in China, made in Taiwan. Yeah, I mean, you've got a phone.
Why don't we boycott China, by the way? I mean, China, when I was looking at the figures, I don't exactly remember the numbers, but China is like, when it comes to Israel and China, I think you better know the volume of the trade
Trade
that
is
takes
huge.
place between
It's
China and Israel.
It's huge, and we have. I guess that will extend our discussion, which I'm desperately trying not to. I'm trying to stay focused. What I'm trying to say from another perspective is companies should just focus on business. We
I
want
agree.
to see American brands in Pakistan. I want to see them in Pakistan.
Okay.
I want to see American stuff in Pakistan. You don't see it, do you? There's a reason for it, because we have just sort of gradually gone against away from, I would use this current tariff regime that the U.S. administration is bringing in. I would like to use this as, if possible, wherever possible, as a reason to increase trade.
Okay.
As why don't we have certain American brands here? We have Japanese cars, we've got Chinese cars. We've got some French cars. Frankly, do we have American cars here?
No.
We don't. So I'm just saying that corporations should stay corporations.
No, I mean, at this point, I think even the people who are against the boycott campaign, I think they agree with this, that companies should restrict to business, and they should pay heed to the people who are consuming their stuff. We agree at this level. But the exploitation of the issue, I mean, whenever there is, and obviously with the sentimental and emotional value attached to this issue, many people believe that it's being used to cash. I mean, there are local companies who are coming up with with their material, with their products or their food items that are not even worth trying, but because they are playing with people's emotions. And all of this is basically, some people believe that it is a funded campaign by these big brands and these local brands who are trying to capture the market. How do you see that?
That is one of the cascades
Okay.
of the event, and I wish I had some more information, but I do agree that it will be exploited.
Okay.
That's the way it's done everywhere.
Okay, so if Time's Up, you might have seen a video of a recent episode in Sadr in Rawalpindi.
Yes, I know what you're going to say.
Yeah. So if people are not listening to you, if people are not boycotting KFC, they have the reasons not to. If people are not boycotting McDonald's, and you are somehow triggering a debate,
Sure.
and you are trying to take it to a level where you think that the ones who are not boycotting are probably anti-Palestine, anti-Muslims, where are we heading?
We're headed for confusion because
And confrontation as well.
that's inevitable. Confrontation is inevitable, and economics will take a back seat very soon. I'm not going to get into that. That's something different.
Okay.
But just to strictly adhere to what you just said, and let me be very frank here. Look, no kind of violence against anyone is permissible. Okay. And let me bring religion into this. Where in the Quran is violence, senseless violence allowed? If violence is mentioned in the Quran anyway, there are caveats to it.
Okay.
There are restrictions to it.
Okay.
There are rules for war. There's rules for engagement. There's a rule for jihad. It's got 3 different forms. We don't talk about that. But going into an outlet, smashing it up, I'm sorry, this is completely unacceptable. And I don't think it matters whether it's KFC or not. It matters more. I know. I'm just being argumentative.
Yes,
Forgive me
yes.
for that.
No. I understand that.
Smashing up, really? That's going to achieve anything? So it gives a very suspicious look to it.
Yeah, that's what I was trying to come up with. That
And it's not right. It's wrong. I'm so sorry to interrupt you, but that's not right. It's okay. Under the strict interpretation of law, which is, law is written pretty much, most of it is written in black and white. There are a few areas where there is some discretion. Where in Pakistan's penal code does it say that you can walk into somebody's business area and smash it up?
It isn't.
It's wrong.
Obviously, I mean, this is an encouragement for mob mentality. We have seen lynching in this country. So what I feel is that even if you think that this is something that is entering into geopolitical domain or strategic domain, then the government should take some step rather than allowing these people to decide for themselves whether. I mean, the government of Pakistan has allowed KFC to run, hasn't it?
Yeah.
Why doesn't it stop it then? If I think this is again where our governments take a back step and they let things happen, they let the crowd decide. I mean,
I agree.
The government is getting taxes, isn't it?
A lot of taxes.
A lot of taxes. So this means the government wants them to carry on.
Yes.
So that's what my point initially was. Why is the government not taking a step against them? Because they feel threatened in the sense that they are getting the taxes, a lot of taxes, and they don't want, a cut on that. So if Israel or these companies are threatened by the boycott that Pakistanis are obviously undertaking, Pakistani government itself is the representative of these people. So if your representative government is not taking any measure, then you are heading for confrontation if you are allowing this to happen.
Let's go back in time. I agree with what you're saying because it paints a very strange picture. A picture that just doesn't look straight. Exactly. It looks like you see 3-4 images happening in the same. I have a bad habit of whenever someone asks me a question, I tear apart their question into segments. The first question you asked me, the best I could do was break it up into 3 segments. And I tried to answer each segment. And then I tried to reconstruct a final conclusion. If we do the same thing with what happened in Pakistan when the East India Company was here, we had Pakistanis employed, we had
Indians.
South Asians employed in the East India Company, and they were fighting or enforcing the will of the East India Company, which was, by the way, authorized by certain Nawabs. They had signed it over. That's what the people were rebelling against. So we see a parallel system. We see a repetition of history. This can be, I think, very easily handled. And how do you save taxes? How do you get the point across? How do you avoid mob mentality? Ask that particular company that has that supposed interest internationally, not locally, that please issue a statement and put it on your outlet. We're here for this business. We're not in any way.
We don't have any
association with that.
With that,
Because the burgers that those IDF murderers ate, they weren't made in Australia. They were made somewhere nearby. So they are responsible. Technically speaking, it's not McDonald's Lahore. That's a fact. That's not the way it is. There have been far more serious issues that we are not even touching. How about Operation Cyclone? We're not even talking about it. So that's another story. But what I'm, just to be specific to what you're saying, when inadvertently, I would say, let's speak on the side of the corporations, when inadvertently an organization enters into geopolitics, I think it needs to then accept some responsibility.
Fair enough.
And they can give a statement, they can back out, this and that. If you remember the Blood Diamond controversy that started in the 80s or 90s, that the diamonds from from Africa, many of which were from, I think, Congo or whatever, you had to have a certificate that this is not a blood diamond. No, where does it, is there a thumbprint on it? Or you can just print out as many certificates as you want, or it could be true. I don't know. But De Beers had to step in, and because there was a geopolitical thing attached to it, De Beers is still doing business. And it's doing more business now than it was 20 years ago, 30 years ago. So I think that's business being business. As you said, China and Israel have an amazing trade volume.
Yeah.
Fantastic, good for them. But China never said to them, read Chairman Mao's book, the Red Book.
Yeah.
And they, I believe, didn't say to China, you should read what Theodore Herzl said,
Yeah.
or Benjamin Begin, what he said.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So leave business as business. That's what I'm trying to say. And I want to perhaps use this platform to complain
Yeah.
a little bit. We don't see American products
Yeah.
as many as they should be, as they were in the 60s and 70s. Do we recall how many American products we had in Pakistan? We don't. So there's been a shift.
Okay.
That's all I'm trying to say.
So that's what I mean. I also want to, talk to our listeners, and what we are trying to come up here is that we should be rationalizing this boycott. We are understanding. I think Fahim Saab has also talked about the fact that if McDonald's or KFC or Pepsi or any other company in any capacity, if they are supporting murderers, IDF murderers or any other murderers anywhere in the world, they're condemnable,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
But the matter of the fact is that we also need to understand there are so many layers to the issue.
Yes.
Taking, the decisive or you can say the final decision on any particular issue, and for individuals, that's not obviously the solution to it. And the fact that exploitation of certain issues
Happens.
and when that exploitation, I mean, even the very notion of this Khilafat Kola, the very title that is basically given to it, the name, the brand that is given to it, that tells you that they're playing with people's sentimentality. So the purpose of this program, and I was thinking of having this show, is to educate people on this as well. You should be against Israel. I mean, they're committing a genocide, absolutely no questions. You might question your food choices, your consumption habits, and that's fine. I mean, obviously McDonald's or KFC is not healthy. It can be, look at it from this perspective.
Yep.
Pretty expensive as well. But it doesn't mean that you get exploited by, I mean, you are challenging one god, let's suppose, one mighty figure or one exploiter of the world. You can't obviously be strengthening another exploiter, whether that exploiter is your indigenous exploiter.
I mean, I tend to agree with you, and I'm just going to bring up two corporate things. I mean, I've worked in corporate extensively. I've worked with the government at apex levels. Unfortunately, corporations always try to take an advantage of something. This is across the world. It's nothing new. I'm not going to get into too many examples here.
Yeah.
But one thing which I just don't seem to understand is that brand development should be done as a strategy, not as an opportunity.
Yeah.
Right?
I mean, you at least don't look like an opportunist.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, that doesn't, and to be honest, as a business, it doesn't live for that long.
Yeah.
It does not live for that long. You have to build a brand which carries through the ages. And I mean, okay, for example, in Pakistan, if there are any foreigners listening, the brand of Hamdard.
By the way, this program of ours is like pretty liked by the foreigners, because this is the only English channel of Radio Pakistan.
Wow.
So a lot of foreigners, I mean, this is also one purpose, because we also want to give them this idea that if the Pakistanis are retaliating against a certain company or brand, because these people are obviously quite in favor of these, they eat a lot. So they're bringing a Pakistani perspective to them. I mean, whatever you've talked, I hope this makes them understand that why Pakistanis, and if they have a say somewhere, I mean, they should bring it up. Whatever you've said made a lot of sense. Yeah.
I hope so. I hope so, because we have to bear in mind a few things that look, business is getting hurt terribly.
Yeah.
I'm sure as many of us would like to have American fast food, British fast food, French fast food, I'm sure they would also, like to have a taste of our cuisine. our brands should be there as well. So, that's how this area of South Asia, especially Pakistan, CPEC is just something new that happened thousands of years ago. It's nothing new. The Silk Route. This is an area where, there's a cauldron of cultures. In Pakistan, you just look at a person's face and you can see the history of their ancestors. It's coming from so many different directions. That's the beauty of our people. As far as corporations are concerned, brands, because I've been involved in brand development, and I think a brand should be developed. There are opportunities that one should avail, but just living off an opportunity is not going to get you very far. And secondly, there is a certain brand in Pakistan that is refusing to pay proper dues to its workers. I think you and I both know who we're talking about. I won't take the name. And then there's constant strikes outside the factory.
Exactly.
So how is that
different?
How is that helpful? How is that?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So we are heading towards the conclusion of our program. Time Sir, I would like you to directly address our listeners and our viewers across the Pakistan, and even there are listeners from outside the country, how to navigate this boycott campaign. From your perspective, how are you dealing with it? Your own personal subjective belief? Are you imposing your belief on others? If somebody is having a lunch with you and somebody calls for a coke, are you going to stand up and leave that place and you say no meeting? How are you personally navigating through this?
That's a very interesting way of putting it. No, I've never done that before. To all the listeners, look, we humans are one race. We look different and we have different beliefs, and at the end of the day we're going in the same direction. Let's do business, let's focus on business, let's leave politics out of it, and let's not impose our will on the other. Did I impose my will on you?
You didn't.
I just I tried to bring facts to the table and just leave them there. That's how I used to do business, and I did a lot of business, and I was in investments in brokerage. That's a cutthroat business, and the standards that I set, I'm proud that those standards are still remembered. We can do much more business. We can get our voices heard in the right way. And even if after that somebody doesn't try to listen to you, then find another way. But I condemn any kind of violence that is happening domestically or internationally. As far as laws are concerned, they're meant to be followed. International laws have to be followed. By the way, Pakistan follows international laws. Israel doesn't. But this does not justify us or anyone trying to impose our will on anyone else. If they accept it freely, that's something.
So I have a cheeky question in my mind.
Yeah, sure.
Just triggered at the end eventually. I mean, people generally from Pakistan, they knock Supreme Court or Lahore High Court.
We love to go to the court.
And they launch a sudden inquiry against a politician all the way from nowhere. Do they have this to, that they can go against KFC or McDonald's and they can somehow go to the court and, seek some sort of, if they want them to not work in Pakistan, let's suppose. Is this a way, if you are obviously not resorting to violence, there's no way, but this can be one way?
There's a much simpler way. Write to the CEO and tell them to either send a notice that we have nothing to do with this and we are focused on Pakistan's market, and politics is separate and business is separate. That's good enough. That's a much simpler way to do it. Because when I was a CEO and if I got a letter from someone, I would pay attention. Whether it was a small business quantum or a large business quantum, I have to listen to my clients.
And if the CEO doesn't respond, you can simply stop eating KFC and you can simply stop eating McDonald's.
Absolutely.
That's it. You can tell people not to, but that's it. If they don't listen to, I think you can't do much.
And we need to just keep politics and business out of each other's ways. That's all I'm going to say.
Thanks, Saab.
Thank you.
It was such an enlightening discussion.
Thank you.
I got to learn a lot from you.
Likewise. The questions
Thank you so very much.
Your questions weren't exactly that simple. But
That's
thank
very
you.
kind of you. That's very kind of you. I mean, it was such a pleasure having such an enlightened soul on our show. We are signing off from Planet FM 87.6. Stay safe, especially the people in Islamabad. We are expecting another hailstorm
Yeah.
in the evening.
Get your backs
Get
out.
your cars in some sort of shade. Take care. I'll see you next week. Khuda Hafiz.
Allah Hafiz.